Welcome to this week's Who the Folk podcast. I'm Lonnie Goldsmith, the editor of TC Jewfolk. This week I sit down with Rabbis Rachel and Marcus Rubenstein, the husband and wife team taking over the pulpit at Temple of Aaron. We talk about what brought them to St. Paul, adjusting to this new community while working together as rabbis, and we play a take on the Newlywed Game on this week's Who the Folk podcast. Rabbi Rachel and Rabbi Marcus Rubenstein, welcome to this week's Who the Folk podcast, and welcome to the Twin Cities.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we are here at Temple of Aaron, where you are the new co-rabbis. Is that the arrangement? Is there a senior rabbi, co-rabbis? Co-rabbis. How has it been? I know it's been, as we're talking, only a few weeks since you've been here, so it's hard to fully gauge, I would imagine. How's the first few weeks been, though?
Fantastic. We love it here already. I mean, so much gratitude being here in this wonderful organization and working with our staff. Just really getting introduced to the Minnesota Jewish community. There's so much love for this community, so much tradition, and I think Rachel and I are really tapping into it. It's also been lovely to work with Rachel as co-rabbis. We always sort of unofficially work together. My past post is lone senior rabbi of a synagogue. She always would give it a work together. Okay. So we would always sort of unofficially work together in terms of our projects, being married to a rabbi. And now we actually get to do it officially, and it's amazing to see how well it actually is working out, even better than I could have thought. So
yeah, we always kind of joked that if you put us together, we would make one really great rabbi, because of our skills, our passions, our interests were so different. We're almost that opposites attract type of philosophy.
Yes.
And now we get to put that into practice. And so far, 3 weeks in, it's going really well.
Yeah.
So were you rabbis individually when you met each other? Did you meet each other in school and then sort of became rabbis together? What was We
met each other. We were rabbinical students
in
Los Angeles at the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies. We actually met when I came to interview. I was a prospective student, and Marcus was a third-year student at that time. And we met. We kind of had an instant connection.
Exchanged glances.
We exchanged glances. Marcus kept me company as I waited nervously for my interview. And then I came the following year, and Marcus had gone off to Israel for the year. So we spent a year kind of looking each other up on Facebook and on social media, but not having too much contact. And then when Marcus returned for his final year at Ziegler, we finally were able to connect. And the rest is history, I suppose.
Yes, 100%.
So what was it that brought you to the Twin Cities, and where did you come from?
Yeah, so we were in Middletown. Middletown, New York. There's a Middletown in every state, so
yes.
You have to say. It's right under the Catskill Mountains, under the old Borscht Belt area.
Okay.
And it was really nice living in a small town, small area. And it was my first congregation at a rabbinic school. We moved out from Ziegler all the way. My brother, she transferred to JTS to continue her studies there while I started as a rabbi there. It's a great 6 years. Really small Jewish community. There wasn't really wasn't a Jewish private school there for our now child Hadassah. We came there, obviously didn't have a child back then, so that wasn't a concern. And when she kind of became of age, now she's in daycare, getting ready sort of for preschool, it became more of a pressing issue to find a more vibrant Jewish community that can offer the Jewish education we really wanted for our child, which was a Jewish school of some sort. So that was kind of the immediate impetus to look for something else and sort of grow. So that was really the immediate impetus. Also, we spent a long time near my family in New York, but we were very far from Rachel's family, so now I felt like it was time to
My family's in the suburbs of Chicago, so
Okay.
I'm back in the Midwest. I never wanted, no offense to any of the listeners, New York is a fantastic place, but I never wanted to be a New Yorker. I'm happy to be back in the Midwest. And I had gone to school in St. Louis, so I had some context for WashU, that's exactly right. I had some context for kind of small Midwestern cities, and we, when we kind of first encountered Temple of Aaron, we were really intrigued. We were intrigued by this community, by the longevity that people have in the community, and the care and multi-generational vibrancy that this community offers. So we started exploring a little bit more.
Yeah, I think key with the Minnesota community is the amount that people love their synagogues here and are connected to their synagogues. They really love their synagogues, and that's hard to find.
High engagement level.
Yeah, and that's really rare, I think, to find in the rest of the country. But people really care about their Jewish institutions here. I mean, we had a call, I remember in our interview week, where there was a young family call. And usually you go to these young family calls in synagogues, and there's, there's like four like couples there or something like that, and they push these people to come, and there was like 30, 40 people on the call with Temple of Aaron, and I've never seen something like that before, where it was that many young adults who were full members of the synagogue and cared that
stages.
much.
Some of them, were just dating. Some of them engaged. Some of them married. Some of them with kids. It's an age demographic that it's rare to find affiliated with synagogues.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to be a part of that, for our own lives. We wanted our child to grow up with kids her age, and it's just something amazing that Temple of Aaron has sort of grown over the years, of course with the help of Rabbi Fine, who's left now, but we hope to take part in too. So that was something that really stood out to us as really unique about this congregation, but that's one of the many things. So.
And I'll just say that, we were also impressed that they, it's an old synagogue with a lot of history, but they were willing to, when we introduced to them, hey, would you consider this idea of co-rabbis? That's a new idea for a lot of people. They were willing to experiment with us and to see what that might look like for their community.
The idea of us working together was one of the most attractive ideas, because we just had dreamed of this for a long time, and we saw the way we worked together, and we envisioned it, and the fact that we get to experiment and actually do it, we really have a lot of gratitude to Temple of Aaron to taking that chance with us.
So that was something that you had proposed to the search team.
That's right.
Well, I mean, not only there's a lot of factors that have to be right in a search for that to play out. The fact that both Rabbi Fine and Rabbi Miller were moving on very much opened the door to that possibility. If that doesn't happen, presumably the Rubinsteins aren't here.
That's right. It was really a situation of the right time and the right place. We actually had known Rabbi Miller from school. He also went to Ziegler.
Yeah, that's right.
And I also knew Rabbi Fine. He went to high school with my brother. They played on the same basketball team. So we knew the rabbis here personally a little bit and spoke with them. And they also encouraged it. They said, this might be a really unique opportunity for you and a really unique opportunity for the community.
Yeah, really, thank God they reached out. And, you could say it's by chance, but we think it's b'shert, that God was involved. And we really feel that the second we got here, everything has been really easy for us and just immediately connected to things, and we feel like this is just where we're meant to be. So
now, if I understand it right from what I was able to dig up online, Rabbi Rachel, this is your first official pulpit job, is that correct?
That's right. After I was ordained, I became the executive director of our Jewish Federation out in Orange County, New York. So that's what I've been doing for the past several years.
Which is, first of all, a little bit crazy, because you must have been in, maybe your mid-20s?
That's right. Yeah, there were a lot of things that made it unique. Being a woman, being a young woman, being a rabbi. None of those things are exactly what you think of when you think of Federation.
No, that is not typical Federation at all.
That's right.
So what are some of the experiences and the takeaways from the Federation job? Obviously very enmeshed in the Jewish community, to be sure, but being a rabbi, it's a very, pulpit rabbi, my apologies, is a very different sort of opportunity. So what are some of the takeaways from your sort of previous professional life that are going to play well in this one?
Yeah, I think it's very different in some ways and very complementary in other ways. I went into rabbinical school and I didn't have a vision of what job title I wanted when I graduated. What I had a vision of is the impact I wanted to have on people, and I wanted to build community. I wanted to be there for people on an individual basis, make them feel seen and heard and help them find their place in the Jewish community. So for the past few years, I've been able to do that on a county-wide level through Federation, helping work with the different agencies and synagogues to help them find their place, and now I get to do it here at Temple of Aaron.
Is it you mentioned it was a pretty small congregation and community. Was the Jewish population there?
It's an interesting place. There's, they say that there's a population of about 6,000 Jewish families, although it also includes the enclave of Kiryas Joel, which is about 25,000 Satmar Hasidic Jews. So it's an interesting community.
Yes.
Yes.
So in terms of the conservative reform side of the community, is probably fairly small.
Yeah, it's a small community.
Very,
There's
very
a handful of Reform and conservative synagogues all,
we
around.
were a 180 family synagogue, conservative synagogue, and we were one of the biggest synagogues in the county, one of them. The nearest other synagogue was a half-hour drive away.
Wow.
There was a Chabad that was 20 minutes away, which here in we learned in the Twin Cities is like forever away. So
we talk about going into Minneapolis, and people say, "Oh, you're going so far away."
Yeah.
Which is funny because I'm sort of resigned to the fact that everything is about 20 to 25 minutes from me, and it's fine. It is what it is. That's not a big deal.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. But that's another thing that we're so excited. We have such amazing colleagues here. We've started to meet some of the other rabbis in the community, and that's one of the things that we have been so eager for and feel so grateful for here.
Yes, they've been so welcoming and so fantastic to us, and I think the fact that we have that now of the Minnesota Rabbinic Association, and it's just that people are really connected. And we happen to be very near the nearest synagogue here, at least conservative, Beth Jacob is one of my best friends, Adam Rubin.
Sure.
We were in Ziegler at the same time, and we've always been study partners. We've always
that's
been
great.
someone, we've always connected, so just really excited. And now we see each other every morning at the minyan, at our joint minyan in the morning at Beth Jacob, so it's really, it's been really fantastic.
Well, and it's funny, because I had seen and introduced myself to the two of you at the United Against Anti-Semitism rally a couple weeks ago at the Capitol, where sort of, doing my filming work, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a bunch of rabbis who weren't speaking, all just sort of milling around and hanging out behind the crowd, and it was so great to see sort of this community of Minnesota rabbis across denominations all together, just hanging out on a, beautiful Sunday.
I'll give you a peek behind the curtain. We had all come from having brunch together right before the
Exactly. Our kids were playing together, and we were having really, it's a fantastic feeling. It's a really, really good feeling we have right now, and we hope to continue to work together for the good of the community.
It's got to feel like a big difference coming from where you came from, of feeling very isolated. Not necessarily, which is not meant to be an indictment on where you came from. It is what it is. That's what the population is.
Yes.
And now it's a much bigger Jewish population with a lot of synagogues, but this group of clergy, they're all very, for the most part, collegial.
Yeah, I think I felt like I was a frontier rabbi. That's why I was like a rabbi in the Wild West. I did absolutely everything for the synagogue. I davened all the services. I read all the Torah every week. I taught all the classes. I was a prison chaplain. I was the hospital chaplain. I visited every Jew in the hospital. Interfaith, taking place in social justice stuff around. If it was something Jewish, I had to do it. And there was nobody else. And I was Judaism. Some people had not left that town, and I was the only rabbi they knew. And here, all of a sudden, there are so many amazing voices and so many places to choose from. And, we're now part of a much bigger system and a much bigger synagogue. And, it's just nice to be able to rely on other experts. And there's a process of getting used to that, of getting used to being in this bigger system and how things work. And it's been a really fruitful process, though.
That's very exciting. And it's great. And it's exciting to hear and see, sort of take this opportunity with open arms to get in and sort of be involved with the broader community. And I understand that obviously so much of the role is very much what goes on here in the walls of Temple of Aaron. And obviously that has to be front of mind in a lot of ways, but the fact that there is this, so much activity going on in the Jewish community more broadly that you want to at least learn about, it's exciting.
course.
Absolutely. And, putting my federation hat on for a moment,
Please.
We of course want, we want Temple of Aaron to be a place where people can find their home. Absolutely. But it's not going to be the home for everyone. And we are so grateful that there is such a diversity of Jewish experiences in St. Paul and in the Twin Cities, because at the end of the day, we're rabbis of Temple of Aaron, but we're also rabbis of the Jewish people. And we want every Jewish person in the Twin Cities to find their place.
So you mentioned Rabbi Fine earlier. Obviously, big personality, big shoes to fill. Do you try to put your own spin on things that he did? Do you take what he started and do things a little bit differently? What's your vision?
I think when we came in, we said to them, Rabbi Fine and Rabbi Miller are wonderful. We are not Rabbi Fine and Rabbi Miller. We are Rabbi Rachel and Rabbi Marcus. And, what's that going to look like for you? And the community, I think, has just been wonderful about that. They loved their previous rabbis. They've loved the rabbis before then. It's a really warm and embracing community of their clergy. And they're warm and embracing to us and to who we are. We come and we do Shabbat morning services, and it looks very different than what they've seen for the past 10 years. And they've loved what they had, and they are embracing what's coming. I've been really impressed with that aspect of our transition.
Yeah, I think there's really a joint thing of trying to honor the past and honor what came before us, and especially the things that work really well. And trying to learn the synagogue, so sort of moving slow, and that's a form of sort of loving the congregation and loving the congregants, but also keeping in mind our values and our priorities. Rachel and I, we've talked about this over and over again. Our number one priority in the synagogue is caring for each and every member, and so we've really tried to put that to be front and center. So it's kind of a balance work of trying to respect traditions, respect where we are, but also adding our own flair of what we do. Taking my gifts and the things that I learned in my 6 years of sort of being the frontier rabbi and finding what parts of that are actually going to work here and what parts I work on and change. So,
one of the most interesting things about sort of the cycle of when clergy come, when just the clergy contracts in general. Like is the July 1st start date.
Oh yeah. Legendary day.
It's super weird. I never understood that just, but whatever, that's fine. But this year, this is the earliest Rosh Hashanah that I can recall, which means that July 1st start date, you've got realistically less than 2 months of lead-in time.
Right.
To the high holidays. Are you preparing for that as rabbis, even like while you're packing your old house before you come here, or you're already in that mindset before you even get to town?
Oh, sure. Part of what's really wonderful about this community is that we're not alone. It's not us coming to create Temple of Aaron High Holiday Services.
Yeah.
We have incredible partners in Cantor Josh Feinblum, in our executive director Ken Agronoff, in all of our board and our executive board, all of our staff in our office. We just have this incredible team, some of whom have been here for 40 years, some have been and anywhere in between. So thankfully, they're not relying on the two of us who have been here for 3 weeks to start from square one. We're coming into a really beautifully established system.
They really have been so thoughtful about how to kind of put us into the system and integrate us into the system and helped us to learn. I can't really, rave enough about Cantor Feinblum and his preparation for the high holidays and helping us to understand the system that we're fitting into, especially in terms of what we talked about, of trying to love the congregation and love the traditions that exist before making so many changes or whatever it is, but to love what is here and appreciate it. He's really helped us to do that.
And I'll say that this year in particular, we're not so far behind because every synagogue in the country and in the world is having to figure out what this high holiday looks like, and it's going to be different after the last 15 months.
Every year for the last, almost all of our years, I think, with TCG Folk, we've put out a high holiday guide where we put out a list of what everybody's offerings are and the time, and if you're interested, how you get tickets. And I have heard, normally people are very prompt, and this year, I've only heard from 2 so far. So, first of all, any of the rabbis out here listening to this, consider this calling you out. Give me your details. But I think it also speaks to the larger issue of what nobody really knows what's going to happen. I mean, I think we all want to be back in person, but it's just a matter of what does that look like at every synagogue? And it's going to be very different for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's good that it's different at every synagogue, right?
Yeah.
There's all different kinds of tastes, and that's what's wonderful about being part of such a big community is people can find the place they want to go. Every synagogue offers a particular. We try to serve as many people as possible, each and every one of us, and consider different attitudes. But in the end, we're going to be different. We're going to make different decisions, and that's why it's great we all exist, right? You know?
Absolutely. So, one story I wanted to tell, and I probably should have told it earlier in the podcast. I had actually found out that the two of you had been hired before I'd officially found out from the synagogue, because a Minnesota soccer fan from somewhere, I actually knew it was Minnesota, someone on Twitter had, congratulated fellow soccer fan Rabbi Marcus, and his coming to St. Paul, and Minnesota United fans should welcome him with open arms. And I'm like, oh, I guess the TOA hired the husband and wife team.
You're a good reporter.
You should know that when we came to Minnesota for the very first time, when we were looking at our house, one of our very first stops was to Allianz Field.
Yes.
so you were spot on with our...
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very big soccer fan. I just like something I always found very early on in my career that there was something, I needed to do something besides learn Torah and teach and be there for congregants. And so one of the things was soccer. I also love to read comic books and exercise and everything like that. But yeah, soccer really has been a big thing for me. And I think being in Middletown, we were so far away from any national sports. That was just trying to get to I'm a Mets fan also from New York, and the City Field is 2-hour drive away, and here literally I could bike to Allianz Field in 15 minutes. Yeah. So it's just unbelievable.
We love the whole Twin Cities and we love all of our sports teams, but the fact that Allianz Field is in St. Paul, we feel a special pride there.
Yes.
It is fantastic. So we'll look forward to you guys getting to games, though. Yeah, it's a great atmosphere.
And they almost haven't lost since I got here. They lost the first 4 games, and then they started winning the day we came here. So yes. I feel like.
And as a fan, those first 4 games were miserable.
Oh, it's horrible. They were horrible.
So
I said, "What am I doing? Why am I coming here?" Then I came here, and then
Right, but then. I think as the diehard Twins and Vikings fans will tell you, is that's the heartbreak that comes with being a Minnesota fan.
Yeah, I won't be a Twins fan. I can't watch.
I won't be either.
Yeah, I'll watch it because it's on, but I'm going to remain a Mets fan, an Islanders fan for hockey.
Okay.
And I'm a Jets fan, which is even worse than being a Vikings fan. So, is being a Jets fan. So, what are you going to do?
No, exactly. And I'm a Detroiter by birth, so I cling to all of my Detroit teams still, with the exception of Minnesota United. I'm happy that I have Minnesota United because it's a team that doesn't compete against. There's no Detroit team in MLS, so
right.
I have my a Minnesota team of my own, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know we have to wrap this up. So I have last couple of questions that we always end on. What is your favorite Jewish holiday?
I think we have this. Well, I know yours. I'll say one that.
This would be the dating game. Where
exactly.
You answer for
Should we
each
say
other.
each other's? We can say each
All right,
other's.
We can say each other's.
Okay, Rabbi Marcus's is Shavuot.
Yes.
And it's special for both of us. We actually got engaged on Erev Shavuot.
Yes, we did.
There's a midrash or rabbinic story that Shavuot is kind of the engagement period between God and the Jewish people. That's when they decided to really come together, and so that's when we decided to come together as well.
Yes. And Rachel's favorite holiday is Sukkot.
That's right.
She makes the most beautiful sukkah ever. I mean, the way she decorates it, and we have these beautiful dishes. Usually, your parents come in, and her mom's a fantastic cook, and we like to have all different kinds of people. And I think for Rachel, she is so much of her spirituality is based on building community and building gathering spaces, and Sukkot is all about building gatherings and building spaces and building sacred spaces together, especially in a physical world where you can actually build something and do it, because she also loves crafts, so it fits her personality very well.
This is a fun game. I should interview more husband and wife teams. This is awesome.
As long as we keep answering the questions right, so.
I suppose. I don't want to cause strife. So, all right. And finally, what is your favorite Jewish food?
I don't know if we can answer this about each other. This is harder.
No, I think I can answer it.
Go ahead.
Hers is chicken matzo ball soup.
That's a good one.
Am I wrong?
No, I didn't have one in mind. Matzo ball soup or challah. Those kind of traditional Ashkenazi.
Yeah, I would have said
foods.
challah. I would have also said challah, but because you had that Prime Deli. No advertisement Prime Deli, but you had Prime Deli soup yesterday. So.
And I would say yours is probably Jewish deli. Like you're a New Yorker.
Oh,
You really love
come on,
that.
really? Well, is hummus a Jewish food?
Oh, okay. That's true. Rabbi Marcus puts hummus on literally everything. You know, he'll put it on pasta. He'll put it on rice and beans. He'll put it on.
Everything.
Really, it's a
Everything.
staple.
Everything.
We buy family-size tubs of hummus, and they last about a week.
Yes. Very, very happy to be near Trader Joe's now that has very good hummus.
Yeah,
so
the roasted garlic hummus from Trader
it's
Joe's
so
is
good.
phenomenal.
Mediterranean, the regular, yeah, like it all.
That's really good. Well, Rabbis Marcus and Rachel Rubenstein, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time, and I'm so happy to get to meet you, and welcome to the Twin Cities. We're happy to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We're
you
so
so
happy
much.
to be here.
The Who the Folk podcast is part of the Jew Folk Podcast Network, a product of Jew Folk Inc. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you have suggestions for other podcast guests, please email them to me at editor@tcjewfolk.com. For our other shows, check out tcjewfolk.com/podcast.